video will be starting momentarily. Getting everything set up here. We've got about a minute and a half before the video comes on. And if anyone's already watching, I'll apologize now for the background noise. It's a warm one here today. I've got the air conditioning running. I'd much rather be cool with a little bit of background noise than to be sweating like a stuck pig for a little quieter audio. Hello there, what the 4355, how we doing today? And hello folks, Yestergear PC here, and today we're going to be building a sleeper PC with this vintage circa 1997 Beige ATX case. Going inside today, we've got the ASRock Killer SLI X370 motherboard with a Ryzen 1600 CPU. We've got 16 gigs of Team Group DDR4. It's 2400 megahertz, not the fastest stuff, but it did me well for quite some time before I upgraded. We got a Mushkin Eco 120 gig solid state drive. We've got a couple 80mm fans to throw in there for what limited cooling this ATX chassis will give us. We've got a Deep Cool Gamax tower cooler, Cooler Master 600 watt silent power supply. We've got an XFX R9 390 with 8 gigabytes of GDDR5, and not pictured here at the moment, we have a 500 gigabyte hard drive as well we're going to put in for a little bit of storage. Now, the background story is I've got an ingest and streaming PC over here that's run by a venerable FX 6300 and a GTX 750. And that's what I'm actually streaming this on right now. She's a little long in the tooth and just getting up there, not performing quite as well as she used to. And so because I just upgraded my main rig to a Ryzen 5 3600, we're going to take the old parts from that one and slap it in this vintage box, and we'll see how it goes. So we're not going to complete this 100% on stream because I'm going to need a part or two from the current streaming PC, namely the AverMedia capture card that's in there. It's a C127 Game Broadcaster HD, which for my primary content of retro computers is one of the best capture cards I can get because it does VGA capture as well as HDMI. So let's go ahead and get started here. Let's arrange our workstation. Get everything moved out of the way, get the case laid down, and we'll switch to my webcam from the top-down view, and we'll get started from there. All right, there's my top-down view. Let's move some stuff out of the way. Put that over there. So I'm glad you guys tuned in today. This is my first live stream I've ever done. So I'm sure I'll make some mistakes. Hopefully the video and audio quality are acceptable. I've got a blue Yeti Nano microphone, but there's a lot of background noise because of the air conditioning. I do have a couple soft boxes, so they give me a little bit of decent light. If anything's too dark, let me know and we'll mess with the exposure settings a little bit. So inside this case, we have a old 5 1/4 floppy that doesn't work anymore, just there for aesthetic purposes. Same goes for the 3 1/2 inch floppy down here. Those are original to the case and they're going to stay in there. And we'll go from there. So first up, we're going to need our I/O shield. Let's track that down. Go ahead and snap that in the back here. Hope it fits. Actually seems a little bit big, but I'm sure the motherboard will hold it in. Now, because of the limited space to work on in this case and absolute lack of cable management options, we're going to put the motherboard in first. Normally I'd put the PSU in first, but today we're going to go for the main board. Now to get it in here, we're going to come in at a silly angle. Try to get her down there. All right, there she goes. So I already test fit to make sure that all the holes in the bottom of the chassis line up, because this doesn't use your typical standoffs. This one here uses just punched up steel that's been tapped, so you can't rearrange the way it goes. Alright, that looks like we're sitting on the standoffs, and we can start putting some screws in. I'm also using the screws that came with this case because they look to be a slightly different thread than what came with it normally, or that came with other cases. So I hope everyone watching is doing good today. I'll try to be as entertaining as possible. If anyone has any questions or comments or anything, feel free to drop them in the chat. I'm used to watching live streams and videos from other tech YouTube folks, and they've always got a couple hundred people in there chatting, so it feels a little awkward being my first stream with only a couple subscribers and only, 2 or 3 people watching. And get in your home. That's where you live. All right, here we go. This bar sort of blocks my screwdriver. I think I'm going to use my stubby for the next 2. And I dropped the screw, of course. And I think it went inside the heatsink. And it did. Isn't that lovely? Just a minute. I need to pull that out with a pair of needle nose and try not to rip off this VRM heatsink while I do it. There we go. wants to hide way up inside there. There we go. Okay. And that is the last motherboard screw. Now, because this case is super tight with no cable management, I'm not quite sure how I want to go. I think I might do the power supply and the wiring last, get everything else installed so I can see what I'm working with as far as directionality of the cables. So I think next I'm going to put in the solid state drive and the hard drive and see where we're going from there. After that, we'll do the CPU cooler and the chassis fans. Oh, you better fit. That's a tight, tight squeeze. I might not even need to put screws in that one. Oh man, it's shaving off some plastic. Okay, we got that in there though. Blow that out of the way. Now this is a little slide in and out. It's meant to mount a 2.5 inch drive and a 3.5 inch bay. And it does that pretty well. Just use this little self-tapping screws here to go into the plastic drive rails. There's actually 2 screws on the back right here that allows the drive to slide in and out, but I think we're just going to leave it how it is. Let me grab the hard drive, just a moment. It is sitting over here. Where is it? Ah, there we go. So for the hard drive, we have a Seagate Constellation 500 gig drive, and I'm not sure if these were high end or low end or enterprise, or I can't even remember where I picked this one up. I think it came in a server that I had purchased, and I ripped it out of there and have just been using it as an extra drive. Now, this one doesn't want to slide in easily either. I think this 3.5 inch mounting plate is probably a little bit bent out of shape over the years. So we're going to give it a little bit of an attitude adjustment. See if we can't get that to work a little better. Now, a couple of the downsides to using a vintage case and building a sleeper such as this, you know, you don't have all the features of modern cases. You don't have the front panel USB and audio. You don't have proper cable management capability. Oh, come on, don't get stuck. Seems like there's something else in there jamming it up as well. Come on, let's refocus. That wasn't good to be knocked over. Man, I wish I could see inside there better. See what it's binding on. It just does not want to go in. Pull my RAM out for a minute so I'm not knocking into it. Alright. Now it looks like this is may be removable. I think we just need to throw a little more leverage in there to beat it out. So give me a second. Something with a little more leverage on it. There we go. That's weird. Feels like it's ramming into something on the top. I don't see anything there. Oh, that'd be it. Turns out the screwdriver's got a busted screw in it. So I'm going to have to clear that out of the way. That was the problem. Now it should slide in nice. There we go. And that'll allow me to put my RAM back in as well. Let's put a couple screws in that. Let's see, drive screws. One of those and my stuffy. So this drive will only have 3 screws holding it in. But I think that's okay. There we go. All right, so we've got our solid state drive installed. We've got our hard drive installed. Let's go ahead and toss our RAM back in the machine. Proper slots. There we go. 1. And 2. There we go. There's our RAM in. So next should be our probably tower cooler. Now let's do our case ventilation fans first. And I'm using these little Arctic 80mm F8s. These are actually about the best 80mm fan you can get for $5 a piece. Not exactly high-end in modern terms. Let's see, that's a fan screw. That's a fan screw. So this one's an exhaust fan. Let's have it facing this direction. We're going to notch that cable right through there. Drop that in there. Come on, play nice. There's 1. 2. And we're going to have some mismatched screws. You know, the point of this is to look a little bit janky, honestly. That's the whole point of a sleeper. You know, it's not supposed to look super clean. It's supposed to look like it's been ridden hard, put away wet, and that the real magic's on the inside, where no one would ever expect what's behind the closed door. Alright, we're just going to dangle that out the back for now. Alright, now the front one, I think I'm going to have to pull the front panel off a little bit. That's okay, because it does come off. There we go. That should be enough to get in there. Remove the plastic guard here, and that way I don't mess up what's going on up there. With the 5 1/4 drive's kind of wedged in pretty hard. And yeah, I might have already screwed that pooch. Nope. There we go. Everything locked right back into place, and I will be able to get to those screws. So, intake. Let's put our cable facing up. Grab some fan screws. Sorry, that was probably really loud. So for any of you who might have joined a little late, I'm Yestergear PC, and we're building a retro cased sleeper PC, Ryzen 5 1600 with 16 gigs of RAM, R9 390 video card, and an ATX chassis from 1997 or so. Come on. That one might be a little bit too big, I think. That must have been from a bigger fan. Let's see, is that one? There we go. Let's go ahead and pop that fan up. Give myself a little more room to work. I can get to it, but it's tight, so. And let's drop all the screws. All right, come on. We switch drivers, something with a little longer post. Get in your home. Oh, I'm just a little bit cockeyed, that's why. Loosen that up just a hair. And there she goes. Beautiful. So there's our front intake fan, which is probably going to be wholly inadequate for cooling this machine, but you know, the Ryzen 1600 isn't exactly a hot beast. It doesn't need a whole lot of cooling. You know, you think about it, it's shipped with a pretty small cooler. So as long as we have a little bit of fresh air coming in the case, I think we're going to be all right. And the R9 390, while not a very low-powered graphics card, this machine won't be doing any gaming, so I don't think that'll be a problem. All right, so we've got our intake and our exhaust fan installed. Next up, let's do our tower cooler. All right, so we have the Gamax from Deep Cool, and I think this is the Gamax 300. And it's a sizable tower cooler. It's only about 20 bucks if I remember right. And it'll be pointing pretty much right at the exhaust fan. So That should help with the inadequate case cooling quite a bit. Pardon me while I take a drink of water. All right. Let's see here. Where's my thermal paste? There she is. So for thermal paste, we're using a Noctua NHT1. It's pretty much what I use on all my stuff. I find it's very high performing. It's never let me down. I'm not sure how it compares for thermal conductivity. I know it's higher on the spectrum. So let's go ahead and put about a pea-sized blob of that right there on the Ryzen 1600. All right. Beautiful. Now we're going to orient this guy so it is facing exhaust. The nice thing about this deep cool cooler, not a lot of coolers have this. Something I wish all fans had is airflow indicators on the actual chassis. This one shows you which way the air goes. I really hate it when I get a fan. I've actually had a few that blew backwards from what you would expect. So let's go ahead and try to get this guy seated on there. Try to catch that clip first. One clip done. Come on, baby. And the second. Give her a little wiggle to help seat that paste. And there we go. Let's go ahead and find my CPU fan. Header location, which is right there. And we'll plug that guy in. Now, previously, when this board and CPU were in my last machine, she was hooked to an AIO. So I'm probably going to need to go into the BIOS after I get her going and reset that. In fact, I think right now I'm going to pull that BIOS battery and we'll just reset her all the way to defaults. There we go. Pull that 2032 out. All right, next up is our GPU. And like I said, this is the XFX R9 390 8GB. This is a board that came in a lot of 30 video cards that I had picked up from a mining operation that was shutting down. And they gave me all of their old cards that didn't work. Out of those 30 boards, I managed to get about 22 of them going again. Just with a repaste, repad, cleaning up the fans. And yeah, the other 8 or so of them that I still have are in a box and still don't work. Let's go ahead and seat this guy down where she belongs. There we go. Grab a couple screws for that. There's 1 and 2. Now, I ran this video card as my primary card for about a year, and she was a very good performer. Couldn't overclock her any. She didn't want to overclock at all. But at stock settings, which is a factory overclock, she did pretty good. I could run Furmark on her for 45 minutes without her ever hitting 90, which for an AMD card, that's just about right. Oh man, I don't know if this screw is the right threading. It doesn't want to go in. Either that or that screw hole has just been chewed up over the years. Yeah, because that one's going in just fine. All right. So let me get a And I hate to say this, let me grab a self-tapper and we'll use that as the second screw. Sometimes you gotta get a little bit janky with vintage cases. And there we go. That card's not going anywhere. Alright, next up I'm going to route my SATA cables. And I'm using a mismatched pair that I just happen to have on my shelf. One red, one black. And we're going to use the black because it's got the locking pin. We're going to use that for our SSD. And we're going to use the red one for the hard drive. Yeah, that doesn't hold on too well. Let me try the red one for that one then. That's a little bit better. So I guess we'll nix that and do it the other way. Alright. Now, when I build my machines in modern cases, I'm generally very anal about cable management. But back when I was building machines back in the day, you know, in the 90s and early 2000s, before cable management was even a term that we used in the computer world, I generally just tried to tuck them all up into here. That's probably what we're going to do today. Come on, get in there. That is your home. That's where you belong. There you go. That's a happy little SATA cable. There we go. Now something I'm going to chuckle about here is that this case actually has a PC speaker right here built in. Let me tilt that up. You can see it right down here. And this motherboard does not have a place to plug that in. So we're actually going to remove this little guy and keep her for another retro project. Alright, so let's go ahead and do my front panel header while we're over here and plug in our intake fan as well. And that's chassis fan number 2. Alright. Let's see, we've got our power LED, which actually takes up 2 instead of 3, so I'm going to have to fix that. So that's a 3 spot. We've got our hard drive LED. We can throw that on there, and I have no idea which one of those is positive or negative, so yeah. There's our reset switch. And last but not least, our power switch, which is very important to turn the machine on. Okay. So for this, we're going to need to, let's see, that one's actually got a pin 1, so that's probably positive. So we're just going to use our fingernail, lift up this third tab here and pull that wire out. Actually, if I hang it off the side there, yeah. I was going to use a pair of cutters to cut this down to a 2-spotter, but it doesn't look like I'm even going to have to do that. Let's just go ahead and pry this up. There we go, and now we can pull that wire out and put her right next door. Alright, and if that doesn't work, I'll just have to flip those 2 wires inside the header. Now, I've been arguing with myself about putting RGB in here. There's no way to see it once the case is on, once the cover's on, but part of me kind of wants to put something in there just for the hell of it. I mean, the motherboard has RGB by default on its chipset cooling. Why Why isn't that case sitting where it's supposed to? There we go. Can't be afraid to hit it. Let's put that CMOS battery back in. There we go. Pull these wires over to the side. Route these so they're not running into the fan. And let's go ahead and grab some tweezers, as The Verge called them. Little zip ties here. We're going to zip tie all these cables out of the way the best we can up here. And we'll zip tie them to this corner of the fan. All right, get in there. All of you get in there. No, that's not perfect, but nothing will be in this case. All right, trash can. So, I believe all that's left at this point is our power supply. Like I said, we have a 600 watt Silent Pro. It's made by Cooler Master, and it does have a nice big fan on the bottom to help exhaust some of this hot air out. And look at that. It doesn't fit between those two rails. We're going to have to lift this up, I think, and come in from the back. Let's just stand her up, shall we? All right. We'll switch over to the other camera. There we go. So let's get this girl seated in her permanent home. All right. Almost thought about taking a wire wheel to the back of this so we have a silver power supply matching the rest of the back of the machine, but I didn't want to risk getting any metal dust inside and really didn't feel like taking the whole thing apart. I didn't have a silver power supply that had more than 500 watts and PCIe for the video card, so this is the one we got. Let's find a couple screws over here for that PSU. There's one, two, let's get one silver one for good measure, two silver ones for good measure, so we'll do two silver and two black. Let's start with the top, take the weight off, and we'll use one of the beefier screws for that. Come on. There we go. We're almost ready for the first power up. So you might have to loosen that one just a hair. They don't seem to be lining up the way I wanted. I am a lefty, so that doesn't help the situation. My left arm is my strong one. There we go. I think that's it. Is that it? There she goes. Perfect. So now we can tighten everything up. Let me get out of the way so you can watch. There we go. Tighten these down good. All right, let's push all the cables out this side. And there we go. Let's lay her back down and we'll switch to the other camera again. Okay, so, oh dang it, I think I just popped one of my covers out. There we go. All right. So cable routing. Let's go ahead and do our 24 pin first. Back when this case was new, we only used 20 pins. That extra 4 came sometime in the Pentium 4 generation, I believe, or shortly thereafter, maybe in the Core 2 era, Athlon 64 era. There we go. Cable's nice and hidden. Let's grab our ETS power. Figure out which way it's supposed to sit. I believe. Looks like this one used to have another clip-a-doodle up top there, but it broke. There we go. I think that's how that's supposed to sit. They do match. It's really not that big of a concern anyway, because I'm fairly certain this Ryzen 5 1600 would be fine with only 4 pins, but it's only a 65 watt CPU. But we're going to connect all 8. There we go. Let's tuck that cable down nice and low. Up there into the storage space. All right. And that is plugged in all the way. That looks good. All right. Next up, let's go ahead and do our SATA power. Let's see if we can get this in there. I probably should have done this one before I put in the GPU. But no, it's going right on. There we go. We're going to have to cable manage that though, because that's jamming into the CPU fan. So let's see if we can curl this and get the little bit of a floppy drive there to eat it. Or jam it in between the solid state drive and the floppy. There we go. That looks good. And now for our PCIe 8 pins. Well, 1 8 and 1 6. And I know they're mismatched. One of them's all black and the other one is ketchup and mustard. But when I bought this power supply secondhand, it only had 1 8 pin and I needed 2 for my kid's machine. This one came out of one of her old computers. So I had to order this one online, just made sure it had the right pin out. That's all I really cared about. Her machine didn't have a window, so yeah. And let's tuck those up inside there as well. We'll have just enough room. Nothing's colliding with the CPU fan. I'm going to zip tie that little nubbin down. I hope I'm not boring you guys to death, if there's anyone still even watching. Keeping an eye on chat, but really haven't been watching the how many people are paying attention. All right. Well, I got at least one person. Thanks for sticking in there, whoever you are. All right. Let's go ahead and connect our exhaust fan, see if we can find the header for that. I think we're actually going to plug that into the water pump header, because it's the only one up at the top. It doesn't, otherwise I'd have to come all the way across with that wire, and I don't want to do that. So let's go ahead and plug that into our optional water pump CPU 2. You live there now. That's your home. Maybe it's the first 3 instead of the second. Let's see here. Is it going to go on this way? Yes. Kaplach. Success. All right. Let's go ahead and tuck that one down behind the VRM heatsink as well. So, I think she's just about ready to do a power up and see if it boots. Oh, I forgot a little accessory. This board has Wi-Fi, and I know it's not going to look period appropriate sticking out of the back of this machine, but we're going to use it anyway. All right, so we're going to go ahead and switch to the other camera. I'm going to zoom in and shine some light on this old girl so you can see what she looks like. And like I said, the cable management isn't beautiful, but it is what it is in a case this old. All right, so here we go. Let's go ahead and take a close look inside. So we got the bottom, and we'll go ahead and roll her all the way up to the top. So it definitely could look worse. I'm not going to complain. Let's go ahead and come back out here and get everything back into place. That's about right. Okay, so now on the front of this machine, I didn't show it too closely. This case actually came off the side of the road. I found it sitting next to somebody's garbage can, and it had a AMD Duron 750 machine in it. I've got all those parts set aside for a retro build sometime in the future. I'll probably use them. But somebody's kid colored all over the power button, so that's nice and janky. And I actually think that kind of fits this aesthetic perfectly. So I'm not going to complain too hard. So I'm going to go ahead now and plug in the monitor that I got sitting over here, and I'll step out of the way of that, maybe point the camera at that a little closer. And we'll plug in a keyboard, a mouse, and we'll see if it fires up. With any luck, she should go right into Windows, because this hard drive is already set up with Windows 10. It's actually a copy of my streaming PC's drive that it's replacing. So, yeah. Let's turn off that switch. Plug that in there. Let's turn this sideways so we can watch for fan spin and such. Channeling my inner Louis Rossman there. Hook up some DVI. My favorite, and I still say the best damn video cable standard ever made. Let me grab a keyboard and a mouse. Alright, we got a cheap little HP USB keyboard. And we're going to go a little bit vintage here and use a PS2 mouse because this motherboard supports it and that's all I have laying around. All of my USB mice don't tend to last very long. My kids tend to break them. So I need to order a couple more. Alright. We could actually use a PS2 keyboard as well. I have several of those, obviously, being a retro computer channel. Alright, so the monitor is on. Let's go ahead and reframe our shot here a little bit. Try to get just the PC and the monitor there. Flip the power switch on the PSU. And let's see if we get life. It's alive. We got fans spinning. The power light's not working. Are we going to get video? Okay. Hey, we got a screen there. All right, so it does post. However, I just noticed that SATA power popped off of the damn solid state drive. So we're going to have to plug that back in. There we go. And let's do it again. My power light is not working. We are going to have to repin that. But that's okay. And we're booting Windows. Beautiful. Now I am going to have to install and update drivers. I know that. This was previously an FX powered machine. The drive is. So I'm going to have to update for Ryzen. And it had a NVIDIA video card. So I'm going to have to run a DDU, display driver on installer. Get rid of the NVIDIA stuff so I can install the AMD Adrenalin package, which should handle the chipset and the video. But I have a feeling right here, it's just gonna go right where it's supposed to, and there it is. Success. Mouse is working. I need to make sure this thing is not going on the internet because I don't want it to go up yet. Because it's using the same license key as my streaming PC, and I don't want both of them online at the same time. Before this video, let me go ahead and zoom out and just speak to you guys. Instead of staring at my dang screen so much, huh? So before the video, I pulled the solid state drive out of my old streaming PC after I cloned it to a little flash module I have, a little disk-on module, 64 gig little guy. Hold on just a sec. So I cloned the drive over, so this is the exact copy of my current streaming PC. So all of my streaming software settings and all that stuff are already ready to go. So at this point, all I've got to do is end the stream, shut this machine down, move the streaming card and my capture card from the old PC, which is, hell, I might as well show you. Don't mind the giant spaghetti cables. But that's the streaming PC currently. It's literally just a jumble of garbage. I actually used to call this machine Junkworks, which was an homage to Jay's 2 Cents' Skunkworks, but obviously at a much lower price point and quality level. So, yeah, the old streaming PC is coming offline. This guy will be taking its place. So I'm not going to slap the cover on yet, but after I end the stream and move everything over, I'll shoot some B-roll, and I'll put up a quick little video, an afterthoughts sort of deal on that one. And hopefully you guys will tune in. So thank you guys very much for joining me on this adventure, my first live stream. My voice obviously is not taking it too well. I'm sure that'll improve with some practice. So thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that damn bell icon. I've only got, 20 subscribers. Hopefully you guys can bring me up to 30. So you guys have a great night, and we will see you later.